Hey, welcome to Comedy Kitchen. My name is Ben, and today I'm doing a brand new segment on my channel here that I like to call What's in Your Processed Foods. The premise is to dive into the ingredients of some processed foods and talk about what each ingredient is. I believe that we as humans should know what we're putting into our bodies, and I just wanted to talk a little bit more about that because a lot of what you find in processed foods can be a little confusing and is not always clear. I spent 6 years in the processed food industry working in an R&D lab. I am by no means an expert, but I do have experience in the processed food industry working with some of these processed ingredients. So with that said, today I want to talk about the Starbucks Gingerbread Latte. Now, what was interesting for me here is that I don't necessarily think about Starbucks when I think about processed foods because I think of stuff that's in a package sitting on a shelf somewhere. But after diving a little bit more into the Starbucks lattes, oh boy, are they processed. And let's just get started talking about what the ingredients are. The recipe here, or formula as we call it in the processed food industry, is only 5 ingredients, kind of. Milk, brewed espresso, gingerbread syrup, whipped cream, and nutmeg. Nutmeg's a nice touch. I like it. Milk, brewed espresso, that's pretty self-explanatory. Let's talk about the gingerbread syrup. Sugar, water, natural flavor, sodium benzoate, and citric acid. My mouth is watering already. So the ingredients in here that you might not recognize are sodium benzoate and citric acid. Sodium benzoate is used for emulsification. Basically, the sugar and the water don't necessarily want to be joined together. They probably want to separate, and by adding the sodium benzoate, you create this product that has the perfect texture and consistency that you want, and nothing separates over time. Citric acid is used as a preservative in this situation. It is to prevent things from growing inside of this syrup. Think of citric acid as like the bouncer of the gingerbread syrup. Interesting little point here. Can you see what's missing from this syrup? Ginger. The gingerbread flavor, I assume, is all coming from the natural flavor pretty much because it's just cheaper. And let me give you a little secret, guys. Get in a little closer. Natural flavors, not all that natural. In this situation, natural flavors versus artificial flavors are kind of like sodium benzoate and citric acid. The citric acid is derived from a natural source, but by the time it gets into this citric acid form, it's not really all that natural. All right, let's talk about the whipped cream here. Apparently, Starbucks is famous for their delicious whipped cream, and that's because it's full of sugar. You can see from the ingredient declaration here that the whipped cream contains vanilla syrup, because 6 pumps of vanilla syrup helps the medicine go down. You can see the whipped cream is cream, mono and diglycerides, and carrageenan. Carrageenan and kel. I'd watch that. So you can see the cream, which seems like it would just be a pretty straightforward ingredient, actually has some additives in there. So mono and diglycerides are something that are naturally occurring in nature, but to be used as a food additive, my assumption here is that they had to undergo a humongous level of processing to get to a point where you could use them as a food additive. Again, this is another emulsifier, which I think is meant to sort of keep the cream from separating into its milk solids and water, right? Carrageenan is another thing that's derived from a natural source. It starts from a seaweed plant, but oh boy, does it have to go through a lot of processing to get to this form. It's undergone so much processing to the point where the society that controls the organic labeling has kicked it out and says carrageenan cannot be organic anymore. It's like the playground in elementary school all over again, right? Again, it seems to be a stabilizer slash emulsifier. It's something to keep all of the molecules suspended and holding on to each other so nothing separates inside of this cream. All right, let's talk about the vanilla syrup. Sugar, water, natural flavors, potassium sorbate, and citric acid. Basically the same thing as the gingerbread syrup, but they've invited a new guy to the party, my friend Potassium Sorbate, who I've only just met, but I feel like we're gonna become really, really good friends. For starters, potassium sorbate is of course a chemical. Why they needed to add a new preservative into the mix, I'm not really sure, but it's in there. Now again, can you guys see what's missing from this recipe? I'm gonna go with vanilla. Yeah, there's no actual vanilla. Clearly, the vanilla is just all coming from the natural flavors, and that's because it's cheaper. Now, of course, the chemicals and the processed stuff is gonna be in a much smaller concentration than the milk and the coffee and all that stuff, but the fact remains, there's a lot of stuff in this product that's not real food. Pretty much all of these not real things have been linked to potential health issues. But generally in the food industry, you get away with it because you're using it in such small quantities that there's no actual proof that these things are bad for you. Now, just because something is heavily processed or made in a lab, that doesn't automatically make it bad, but it doesn't make it good to eat, in my opinion. What I care about from a dietary perspective is whole foods, real foods. And to me, this is not real food. It's maybe mostly real food percentage-wise, but there's enough stuff in here to scare me away, which is essentially why I left the processed foods industry in the first place, right? So how about a healthier alternative? According to the Starbucks website, you can get a steamed apple juice. Problem solved, right? I would say in this case, just get a regular latte. I know it doesn't have quite the same level of decadence, but it should be pretty tasty because there's a lot of sugar and fat in the milk as it is. It's certainly not the same thing, but the ingredients in a latte, according to the Starbucks website, are milk and brewed espresso. And I would say that's a lot better than putting these chemicals and processed things inside of your body. That said, I don't necessarily believe we should just cut out everything that brings us joy in life too. So if this is your jam, if this is your favorite thing, then go ahead and order it. Just drink it on occasion, get the smaller size. Don't start off your day with it, and just don't do it every day. Unless of course you do want diabetes, in which case, drink up. Hey, this is the first on what I plan on making a regular monthly segment. So let me know down below in the comments what products you guys want me to review next. Click here to subscribe, click here to watch another one of my videos, and I will see you guys right back here next Thursday.